This video is sponsored by Paperlike. I don't talk about the iPad all that much on this channel, definitely not when compared to the iPhone and the Mac, which are my two main Apple devices. And that's a shame because I really enjoy using the iPad. But I think it's a device which is made better with accessories. So with that in mind, in this video, I'm going to talk about my favorite iPad accessories. iPadOS is far from perfect, but I'm not actually one of those people that thinks that iPad should be able to run macOS. And one of the main reasons for that is their complete lack of connectivity. On an iPad Air or an iPad Pro, the only port that you get is a USB-C port at the bottom of the device, which, if you're trying to get proper work done on your iPad, means that you have a distinct lack of connectivity to the majority of creative devices out there. So that's why I own and always travel with a device like this, the 6-in-1 USB-C hub by Anker. This slots into the bottom of your iPad via the USB-C port and then gives you access to a bunch of I/O that you wouldn't normally have. There's an HDMI output on this, there's a USB-C port capable of data transfer at 5 gigabits per second with power delivery, and a regular USB-C port also capable of 5 gigabits per second transfer. You've got an SD card, a micro SD card reader, which is what I tend to use this for the most. It's great if you're using something like Final Cut Pro or Lightroom with your iPad, and a headphone port if you want to connect a wired set of headphones. Maybe you're getting music production work done and you want to connect some real headphones. The hub itself is finished in this really nice kind of gunmetal grey, feels really solid and doesn't feel cheap because it's metal and not plastic. And the best thing about this is it doesn't break the bank. I paid £28 for this, which is nowhere near as much as some similar hubs that I've seen available online. I really like the folio cases that Apple sell when it comes to protecting my iPad when I'm moving around the house, but if I'm going anywhere where I need to throw my iPad in my bag and not have to worry about getting it scratched, for me personally, the folio cases that Apple sell just aren't strong enough. For things like that, I turn to a company like Zugu, who makes some of the best and toughest iPad cases out there, which are also good to use from a practical level. So here I've got the brand new M2 iPad Air in one of the blue and black cases. You can see for yourself that the iPad is extremely well protected, and I wouldn't be concerned at all if this slips out of my hand or dropped out of my bag when I was going through security at an airport, for example. I'm really confident that the iPad would survive the fall. You can still access Touch ID at the top without any issues, and when you open the front, the case sits comfortably in the hand, just like a folio case is supposed to. The really good thing about this though is the magnetic stand on the back that you can use to set this at a number of different levels. So whether you want to have this propped up nice and tall while you're sitting on a flight, or you want this at a much lower angle that would be good for drawing, there's 8 increments that you can choose from on the smaller iPad. I think you get 10 on the 13-inch models. You've also got 2 places where you can attach an Apple Pencil. You can put it on the side like normal, or you can put it in this pouch on the rear, which is much more secure if you're traveling. And what I love about these guys is that they are so confident in the product that they will cover your Apple Care Plus fees if your iPad gets damaged whilst it's in one of their cases. iPad stands that mount onto your desk and hold your iPad in any position that you like are nothing new, but what I like about this one, the X36 Pro Max stand by Kuxiu, I assume that's how you pronounce it, is the fact that it not only holds your iPad in place using magnets, it also charges the iPad using the same charging pins that you get in the Magic Keyboard. The stand comes with a long enough USB-C cable along with small plastic cable ties and double-sided tape that you can use to run the cable down the length of the stand, essentially hiding it entirely from view. The iPad then just snaps on automatically when you bring it close enough and begins charging, and it's super satisfying each time that happens. Once the iPad is attached, you can rotate it from portrait and landscape mode as you wish, and there is some flexibility to move the iPad around on your desk, although one of the biggest strengths of this stand is also one of its biggest weaknesses. The arm is so strong in terms of its ability to hold your iPad perfectly in place that it can be quite difficult to remaneuver it once you've got it set up. So I think this is going to be the kind of device that you're going to want to set up in the perfect position once and then not move again as best you can. The benefit here is that you can then tap and swipe on the screen without having to hold the iPad in place. You can even draw with the Apple Pencil. It's crazy how well this thing holds your iPad in place. The only thing I would say is be careful when you're ordering. I completely messed up and originally ordered the version of this for the M2 iPad Pro instead of the M4, which is the one that I just bought. Fortunately, I picked up an M2 iPad Pro last year that I do still use from time to time, so I've set that stand up in my secondary work area, but check the small print carefully when you're choosing a stand to make sure that you're getting the correct one for you. Oh, and full disclosure, the M2 stand worked perfectly right out of the box. The M4 stand has been a bit hit and miss. Sometimes it charges, sometimes it doesn't, but credit to the customer service team here. I reported the issue, sent them a video of the problem, and they've shipped me another working one immediately. Also, if you don't want the desk-mounted version of this, they do make 2 other versions of the magnetic charging stand that will just sit on your desk instead, so you should be able to find something that suits you and your setup. If you're going to spend a lot of money on a new iPad like the new iPad Air or iPad Pro, you're going to want to keep the screen protected, and for that, I recommend the Paperlike 2.1 screen protector. Big thanks to Paperlike for sponsoring this video. I've recommended the Paperlike 2.1 screen protector multiple times here on the channel, and for a couple of really good reasons. First, this is a screen protector that still ensures that your screen looks amazing with it installed, and that's really important when you consider how amazing the screens on the new iPad Pro and iPad Air are. Colors look just as good, pictures still pop off the screen, everything looks as good as you'd expect it to. In fact, if you use your iPad outside, the matte surface helps reduce sun reflection. But you also get the added benefit of nanodots, a proprietary Paperlike technology. These tiny microbeads are designed to add resistance and improve haptic feedback when you're using the Apple Pencil. Compare that with the nano texture display on the new iPad Pros, which reduce screen glare but don't provide any haptic feedback, and you can see why the writing and drawing experience is so much better with Paperlike 2.1. If this sounds good to you, get your Paperlike 2.1 screen protector today by following the link in the description of this video, where you can also find cleaning accessories, folio cases, and more. You know that a power bank means business when it not only comes with its own carrying pouch and dedicated app, but it's also big enough and heavy enough that you could use it as a weapon if you needed to. And that's definitely the case with this Anker Prime 27,650 mAh power bank. In my family, I'm the charging guy. I'm the person that gets looked to when my wife's phone runs out of battery when we're out. If I'm going out somewhere local, I tend to take a much smaller power bank with me, which gives both of our phones a quick boost if we need it. But if I'm going anywhere for any duration of time, like an overnight stay or a weekend away, I want to make sure that I've got something that will charge all of our devices, including an iPad or even a MacBook, and that's what you're getting with this power bank. You can download the app, and the power bank has Bluetooth built in, so you can then connect it and view information about it, as well as update its firmware, because yes, that's a thing with power banks now. You can add gadgets to the app, you just have to go and find the battery capacity of the device, and then the app will tell you how much charge your current power bank will provide. So right now, this at 100% is going to charge my 11-inch iPad Pro twice. You can tap the button on the side to get the latest information about the charge state of the power bank and information about the current charge of your device. And up at the top, you've got 2 USB-C ins and outs, as well as a regular USB out as well. The power bank supports fast charge. This came with about 30% of its charge out of the box, and I was able to get it charged up to full using a fast charger in about 40 minutes. It isn't cheap. This cost me £130 here in the UK, but when you consider just how many devices you'll be able to charge with this, if you're someone who travels a lot with your gear, you're going to make your investment back on this very quickly. Where possible, I've tried to avoid including official Apple accessories in this video, but there are 2 accessories where I think if you can afford to buy official Apple, you should, because in my experience, you'll get the best experience going, and that's the keyboard case and the Apple Pencil. So for the M4 iPad Pros and the M2 iPad Airs, there is an all-new version of the Magic Keyboard case and the Apple Pencil, which is now being called the Apple Pencil Pro. The keyboard case is very similar to the previous one, albeit with a few new features. There's an aluminium surround on the outside of the keyboard, which gives it a little bit more of a premium feel when you're sitting down to type. You also get a function row back, and I didn't think I would care too much about this until I realized that it's a quicker and more intuitive way to change the brightness on the iPad while I'm working, for example, than having to touch the screen, go into Control Center and do it that way. As for the keyboard and the trackpad, they are every bit as good as they've ever been. Apple, in my opinion, make the best trackpads in the laptop world, and it's that exact same technology that's here in the Magic Keyboard case, which is why I wouldn't go for a third-party version of this personally. The keyboard on this is an absolute joy to use. I actually prefer typing on the keyboard on this than I do on my M3 Max MacBook Pro. The only keyboard that I enjoy using more, in fact, is the Logitech MX mechanical keyboard that I use at my desk, and that isn't exactly a good idea as a travel device for the iPad, although it would be compatible if you fancy using your iPad with something like this. The Pencil Pro, on the other hand, is leagues ahead of any other pencil that's available out there. You now have a combination of haptic feedback, a small motor at the very top of the pencil that gives you a tiny bit of physical feedback when you switch between menus using the pencil. Again, may not sound like a big deal, but it's something that I guarantee you would miss once you get used to it. Also, the squeeze function at the bottom of the pencil makes so much sense when combined with the new pencil interface. Writing and drawing on this thing is an absolute joy, and again, it's just one of those accessories that I personally would rather spend the additional money on and not skimp out on. Plus, Apple, to their credit, didn't hike the price on the Pencil Pro like I assumed they would. The iPad allows you to connect an external drive via that USB-C port, and that's why quite often, if I'm traveling and I know that there's a chance that I might need to access some of the larger files that I use on my Mac, I'll grab an SSD and take it with me. I use a combination of Samsung SSDs and SanDisk SSDs, although I'll be completely honest, I've found the Samsungs to be the more reliable ones overall, and it tends to be those drives that I reach for if I know that I'm going away anywhere. My current drive of choice is the Samsung T9, which if you've ever used a Samsung T7 Shield before, you'll notice that this looks really similar, and it's pretty much an identical size, shape, and weight. And it's just a really good SSD overall in terms of its blend of speed, portability, and reliability. The fact that I could drop this on a hard floor and not worry about it breaking, you've got 3-meter drop resistance here. You've got up to 2000 megabytes a second read-write, which makes this the fastest SSD that I own, and you've got overheating protection. To me, a good SSD is something that you shouldn't even realize that you're using. It should just be something that you grab and plug in as you need it, and then not have to think about it too much, and that's why I'm including this here. So I've talked about the Kuxiu desk clamp magnetic stand for the iPad already in this video. It is my favorite iPad accessory by far, but by the nature of what it is quite big and heavy, and it's designed to be permanently attached to your desk. You could of course take this off your desk each time, fold it up and travel with it if you wanted to, but unless you really are dead set on doing something like that, I would recommend a much smaller and more portable option like this UGreen foldable 360-degree rotating iPad stand. It's compatible with every iPad on the market, including non-Apple tablets as well, and that's because at its heart, this is a really simple little frame. You unfold it, you position the stand as you want it, and then you simply slot your iPad onto the stand, either in landscape mode or portrait mode as you need to. You're not getting anything flash here like magnets or power input, and that's reflected in the price. I paid £20 for this. The only thing I would say is that because it is quite small and portable, you do need to make sure that you're setting it up accordingly for your iPad and the way that you want to hold that iPad. Basically, an iPad mini is going to be way more secure in this than a 13-inch iPad Air, for example. You could use it with a 13-inch iPad Air, just make sure that you angle it safely. But the great thing about this is that once the iPad is on the stand, you can turn the stand around as you need to get it where you want it, and I wouldn't have any issue with propping this up on a box or a little desk stand if I was traveling, for example, to make sure that I could have my iPad sitting at eye level. If you're someone who likes to use their iPad with a Bluetooth trackpad, mouse, and keyboard, this could be a great accessory for that. So there you go, those are the accessories that I enjoy using with my iPad the most, that I think take the iPad from being a great little second screen to use when you're relaxing to a real productivity machine. What do you think? Which accessories are you using that I should have included? Drop me a comment and let me know. And as ever, if you found this video useful, do please consider leaving me a like and subscribing to my channel for more content like this in the future. See you on the next video.